Absolute Flash issue number 2 is officially out, and this gave us a lot more context as to what has happened with the experiment that Wally got caught in. We got to see him essentially, quote-unquote, take on, I say that loosely, this world's versions of the rogues that are under his father's command. We get teased with absolute Grodd in this issue, and we get an idea of what this version of Flash, this version of Wally West, could end up leading with this storyline that it's starting off with, and why this storyline is being called Of Two Worlds. So it's getting very, very interesting. I'm also liking the depiction of how Wally West's powers are being depicted in Absolute Flash. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I cannot wait to keep covering the series. I'm already enjoying it with just these 2 issues alone, and I'm so curious to see what's going to happen next. Also, we are almost at 500 subscribers, so if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see me not just do issue reviews and breakdowns, but also in-depth analysis or just recommendation videos or just videos on specific characters and comics, let me know. I plan to do all that stuff in the future as well. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump right into the issue. So we start off directly from the previous issue's cliffhanger, where Wally was staring down the decomposed skeletal remains of Barry Allen, as he is still breaking down, crying, and in his own head, saying how he killed Barry. He's wondering what he should do now. There's nowhere left to hide, as he's hoping for his dad, but then one of the boomerangs from Captain Boomerang manages to find him. And so we end up cutting back to the other members of the Rogues, with Captain Cold freezing off certain exit points, with Golden Glider and Trickster waiting outside for Wally. And Wally is getting chased off by Boomerang's boomerangs. And Wally keeps going to and from, trying to get away from the Rogues to the only exit that he can find. Always thinking, I want to go home, I'm sorry, I just want to take it all back, please. Please, I didn't mean to do it. I swear, it all happened so fast. And as he exits the cave, Golden Glider is about to hit him in the head and knock him out with her batons, but as Wally gets hit with these batons, in an instant, the Speed Force activates, and as he's thinking, I gotta go fast, he then zigzags and speeds across away from Golden Glider, as she then tries to catch him. It's then that Wally then begins to speed away as fast as he can, wondering there's something wrong with him. He's always known, but now it feels like he's bursting apart. It's like if I don't move, I'm going to explode into a million little pieces and no one will be able to put me back together ever again. But his foot is then frozen with a really good shot by Captain Cold as he's now on the ground, as Cold tells him that it's time for Wally to go home as all the Rogues are surrounding him. But Wally is still going a million miles a minute in his head, saying, I ruined everything. I messed up too bad this time. There is no going back. I'm all broken. I just need to get up. I need to get up, and I need to move. All while we get to see the powers of the Speed Force begin to burst around him, as we then begin another transition with a massive crackle of electrical energy exploding out from Wally, as this is done to transition us to a few days prior, when he sees Barry in the middle of his experiment, which seems to have led to Wally's powers, and we get more context as to what happened that day. I think I said this last time with issue 1, but I'm loving how Wally's powers are being used to transition back and forth from past and present. I'm really liking it. Different points in time. It's honestly really nice visualization and utilizing the artwork to just tell us how this is going. But Wally is being engulfed by all this energy, presumably from the Speed Force that Barry is experimenting with, and it's just engulfing him, surrounding him, breaking him apart. Barry reaches out for Wally, but for a second, it looks like Wally disappeared. It's then, unfortunately, that Wally's father shows up, asking Barry what happened, what did he do to Wally? And as Barry is trying to explain, he didn't know what was going on, he didn't know that Wally was there. He then gets decked in the face by Wally's dad, asking, what did you do to my boy? As he continues to try and beat on Barry, telling him that he told Wally to stay away from him, and told Barry to stay away from his son, but he wouldn't listen. telling Barry that he's arrogant. But then, while all this is going on in the background, electrical energy is sputtering and sparking behind Barry and Wally's dad. Wally's dad ends up stopping as Barry points behind him, as we see Wally in just a form of electrical energy, just pure energy, just hovering in the air, presumably from the Speed Force energy, as Wally is reaching out to his father, and his father is reaching out to him. He then gets an instance of pain as he collapses onto the ground, with the energy from red lightning still exploding out of him. Barry goes up to Wally, trying to get him to be centered, to focus on them and to stay with them. But Wally, while still in pain, seemingly being torn apart by the Speed Force, is telling Barry to get back, and telling his father and Barry to stay away, as more electricity just explodes out of him, missing his father, but noticeably hitting Barry right in the chest. Now, this could mean a multitude of different things. It could either be A, this is how Barry is killed by Wally, quote unquote, by the Speed Force exploding out of him, and Barry was the closest to him, and that's how he died. Or, like people are already starting to speculate, perhaps this is how we get the beginnings of Reverse Flash Barry Allen in this universe, for all we know. This is the absolute universe, so things are definitely going to be twisted for the most part, but we still gotta wait and see. But anyway, this big burst of electrical energy is used to transition us back to the present, as Wally is just calming down from that big burst of Speed Force energy, as it's revealed that the Trickster managed to protect everybody with these specialized spheres that she created, in order to keep them safe from that Speed Force explosion. They then throw their sphere around Wally to keep him encased. The Trickster ends up telling Wally that once they get back to Fort Fox, they're gonna cut him open just like Rory and Raymond, which that is Heatwave McRory most likely, and seems like who would have been the absolute Firestorm being Raymond, which is insane. Wally says that he doesn't want to hurt anybody, but he will end up doing so. And he actually manages to speed out of the bubble as he tells everybody to get back. Which, this might actually just be Wally just phasing out. This entire thing goes over in a 2-page spread, and I love that once Wally manages to get out of the bubble, we see his eye end up changing shape into this new Flash symbol. So that might be a visual representation that he is currently accessing the power of the Speed Force. Wally then bursts away and runs off from the rogues with Golden Glider in pursuit. She then gets close to Wally, saying that there's nobody that's ever been able to outrun her, but Wally looks back and then speeds away in an instant as she is left in the dust. And Wally is just going as fast as he possibly can, presumably partly in the Speed Force, as we get to see his clothes not only break apart, but perhaps something forming around him, as he's saying, "I am here. I know that. I am here in the desert and it is now, but I am also back in Barry's lab," with a silhouette of Barry and his father, with the image of just Wally as pure energy. Wally grits his teeth, saying, "I'm with my dad. I am here, but I'm also 3 years old, and my dad is on leave, and he took us to Wonder Island, and it's been the best day ever. And Mom is there too. She's still alive, and we're all together." An image from Wally's past ends up flashing forward, as tears run down from Wally's eyes, and we still see the Flash symbol in his eye. He says, "I'm all together. I'm still whole. In one piece, not broken. Not here and there, I can't stop running. No matter how much I want to stop, I can't stop, and I'm scared." Then suddenly it happens. I'm not here, and I'm not back then, as the Flash symbol in his eye bursts forward, as we then see a 2-page spread divided by the Flash symbol, showcasing what Wally is seeing, 2 possible futures. I am forward, and I see what's coming. I see tomorrow, with the image on the left being Wally as the absolute Flash, surrounded by people with a smile on his face, showing us the future of him being the Scarlet Speedster, being the hero most likely of this version of Central City and perhaps the world. But on the right side, he says no, 2 tomorrows, 2 worlds. Am I a hero or am I a monster? And on the right side is a desolate, destroyed city with a monstrous looking creature made of pure energy with presumably Speed Force sparks bursting out. And this might be Wally's alternate future if things don't go the right way. And after seeing these two possible futures, these two possible worlds, Wally trips and collapses in the middle of the desert as he's saying, "What's happening to me? What am I becoming?" As we then transition back to the Rogues as they realize that they ended up losing him now, and Snart says he has enough of this freak show, telling Boomerang to let him out, asking if Snart is sure about this and if he wants to do this, but Snart says no, but we don't have any other choice, saying to get Grodd. As a containment door opens, as we get a close-up of a face, and on the final page of the issue, we see Absolute Grodd, who is a green mutated monkey with a brain exposed, presumably the same little monkey we saw in a cage in issue 1 that jumped out at Wally. And that's where the issue ends, with Absolute Flash of Two Worlds Part 2. Now this was a really fun issue. I'm really happy that we got to see a bit of Wally's past again, and we got to get more context on how Wally seems to have gotten the Speed Force energy, and seeing how his powers are still working, and how he's seemingly flashing back and forth through multiple points in time as he's running, and seemingly with his lack of control over the Speed Force, he is just bursting into it most likely without realizing it as he's running, at least partway through, and goes to the point where he is seeing two possible futures for himself. One where he's the hero of the Flash, and the other where he's this monstrosity that is destroying everything in his way. And that's how we're getting the title Absolute Flash of Two Worlds. We're getting the story of how Wally will become the Absolute Flash while avoiding becoming this absolute disaster in this timeline, in this new universe. And I'm so excited for that. Wally's development is going to decide how he becomes the Flash, and he's probably going to have to fight this seemingly out of control part of the Speed Force. And for all we know, this alternate future, this absolute future where he is a villain or a monster, might just be a corrupted version of the Speed Force taking shape that he'll have to fight at the end or in a future storyline in Absolute Flash to fully cement his future and pathway in Absolute Flash in the Absolute Universe. So I'm already incredibly excited to see what's going to happen next with Absolute Flash. Just 2 issues in, and I'm already intrigued to see what's going to happen. I'm glad we got this idea for a storyline for Absolute Flash, and I cannot wait to see how Wally's journey progresses from this point forward. But what did you guys think of this issue? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I cannot wait for next month's issue. It's going to be incredible, and I can't wait to see how the story progresses. And once more, if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. Now with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.